Now, what exactly is voice and diction? Well, Speech 340 professors have come up with 3 short points to help explain what this class really means. First of all, you want to develop your speech awareness through the use of the IPA, or the International Phonetic Alphabet. Second of all, you want to perfect your career articulation and pronunciation. For those of you going into the broadcasting field, this is very important when you're reporting the news and other media. Third of all, you want to develop breath control for adequate vocal quality, volume, and control. And now I want to introduce you to Jim Cox, the Department Chair of Communications at the University of South Carolina Upstate.
Here on radio or television, ignoring the fact that their own regional dialect is much more pronounced than those they have heard on the local newscast in a live interview at the mall after the tornado hit the trailer park. Women, particularly in the South, maintain watery, thin, or breathy voices well into and beyond adulthood. Such qualities render them ineffective in authoritative situations and often hinder them from promotion or advancement in the workplace. They seem unable to stand their ground against male voices in the boardroom or in situations necessitating control through vocal force. Students want to separate the use of standard grammatical usage and good pronunciation skills from vocal attributes. They are, in fact, inseparable from other characteristics that promote personal and professional credibility through the use of voice. Students and the general population prefer not to open their mouths to speak. Resonation is dependent upon the drop of the lower jaw to produce effective vowel and diphthong production. As a result, regional speech and nasality are emphasized by the inactivity of the articulating and resonating mechanisms.
The run through. Yes. And whenever you're ready, Miss Dan.
Okay. Okay. Now, one of the most important topics that you'll find in your voice and diction class can be found on the supplement that should be posted on Blackboard. Now, I'm going to highlight these just a little bit, but make sure you read through them yourself as well. The first step in the stages that you go through in perfecting your career speech is to listen to the voices of other people, because it's easier to hear the mistakes that other people make than to hear them from your own voice. The second stage is to listen to your own voice, because once you hear the mistakes that other people make, it's easier to pick them out when you speak. And when you listen to yourself, don't be afraid of the potential changes that you may have to make to your voice. Everybody in your class is going through the same thing. The third stage is to, again, listen to the vocal habits of other people, because now that you're armed with the knowledge of the mistakes that you make, you can better apply those modifications to your voice. Don't correct the people that you are talking to, because they will feel self-conscious as you did at the beginning of your Speech 340 class. Listen to the voices of the people on TV, of broadcasting and radio, so that you can hear what makes their voice good for television. And this can help you better apply your modifications and evaluate your own voice. The last stage is to play around with the modifications of your voice. If you have to take a mirror, and guys, don't be self-conscious about this, look at your mouth and see the way that your mouth moves, because a lot of the changes are going to require some physical alterations with your tongue and with your lips and your teeth and the way that everything in your mouth and your throat moves. A few more highlights from the supplement posted on Blackboard. Make sure you know what diaphragmatic breathing is. If you're not doing it, you need to learn how. When you're breathing diaphragmatically, you need to be breathing from here, not from your chest. When you breathe from your chest, your shoulders move, you don't have enough space for air, and you run out of breath faster. When you breathe from your diaphragm, it helps to push your organs out of the way, make more room for that air, and gives you better control when you are speaking. Glottal fry is another important point that ties directly in with diaphragmatic breathing. When you have glottal fry, this happens when you're constantly talking and you never stop to take a breath, and you just keep talking and talking because you're using your chest and you don't take time to take a breath, and your voice starts to sound like this. That is glottal fry, and that diaphragmatic breathing can help solve this. One of the most vital tools that you have to correct small errors in your speech is negative practice. And in the textbook, there are several examples with this throughout Chapter 6 and Chapter 7. Negative practice is first when you say the word correctly, then you say it wrong, and then you say it correctly again. And this emphasizes the difference between the right and the wrong way to say a word. For example, if you say men instead of men, first you say men, and then you say men to really emphasize the in the middle of that M and N. And then you say men again to really emphasize from the right to the wrong way that you say the word. I have a guest willing to serve as a guinea pig. Now, due to his wanting to stay anonymous, he will remain off camera. Okay.
When the French and Indian War broke out, Franklin procured horses, wagons, and supplies for the British commander, General Eric Braddock, by pledging his own credit to the Pennsylvania farmers, who thereupon furnished the necessary equipment. The proprietors of the Pennsylvania colony, descendants of the Quaker leader William Penn, in conformity with the religious opposition to war, refused to allow the land holdings to be taxed for prosecution of the war. Thus, in 1757, Franklin was sent to England by the Pennsylvania Assembly to petition the king for the right to levy taxes on proprietary lands. After completing his mission, he remained in England for 5 years as chief.
Well, that was interesting. Now, I'm going to read the same passage, only in a more correct manner. When the French and Indian War broke out, Franklin procured horses, wagons, and supplies for the British commander, General Edward Braddock, by pledging his own credit to the Pennsylvania farmers, who thereupon finished the necessary equipment. The proprietors of Pennsylvania colony, descendants of the Quaker leader William Penn, in conformity with their religious opposition to war, refused to allow their land holdings to be taxed for the prosecution of war. Thus, in 1757, Franklin was sent to England by the Pennsylvania Assembly to petition the king for the right to levy taxes on proprietary lands. After completing his mission, he remained in England for 5 years as the chief. Okay, yeah, I'll just name a few errors. Okay, anytime?
Take one of errors of red.
Okay, now ask me.
So, Miss Bryant, what did I do wrong?
Where to start? First of all, you had many substitution errors. Many times you said Pennsylvania instead of Pennsylvania. The first word, when, you didn't use the hua sound. You just said when. Wind, probably. The French in Indian War instead of the French in Indian War. Many breathing errors. I could hear glottal fry at the end of some of those sentences. Also vocal variety. Your pitch kind of remained the same. When it changed, it was not at the appropriate times. So let's work on this.
Okay, Miss Bryant. Again, please.
Okay. Now, our guinea pig is back after 6 weeks of training.
Well, thank you, Miss Bryant. When the French and Indian War broke out, Franklin procured horses, wagons, and supplies for the British commander, General Edward Braddock, by pledging his own credit to the Pennsylvania farmers, who thereupon furnished the necessary equipment. The proprietors of Pennsylvania colony, descendants of the Quaker leader William Penn, in conformity with their religious opposition to war, refused to allow their land holdings to be taxed for the prosecution of the war. Thus, in 1757, Franklin was sent to England by the Pennsylvania Assembly to petition the king for the right to levy taxes on proprietary lands. After completing his mission, he remained in England for 5 years as the chief.
Very good. Now that is with 6 weeks of training. Imagine how much better you could do with 6 more.
Well, thank you, Miss Bryant.
My pleasure.